This is episode 58 of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing with my guest, Chad Zdenek. Chad is a registered professional engineer, licensed general contractor, former CEO of Mobile Illumination. His company, CSQ Properties, acquires, repositions, and manages multifamily properties throughout the United States. Chad, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jonathan. Super glad to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, excited to talk to you. So before you got into real estate, when you were younger, did you have an interest in real estate? It's always where I like to start.
Sure. So my interest in real estate would have been from construction. So as correlated or related as you'd make that. I loved construction growing up. My dad, I always like to say, was a contractor who did eye surgery on the side because he was always doing construction projects, and I was helping him out a lot, and then started working for other contractors. Obviously studied civil engineering, got my contractor's license. So that was my relationship to real estate, and then purchased my first investment property in 2015.
Yeah, and it's funny though that you said that because I had a dad who was an investor whose side job was being a lawyer, I understand. But it's interesting when you got into contracting as a profession. Were you thinking investing at all, or were you just thinking like I really like to build things?
Yeah, it was definitely more the latter. I loved building things. I liked the planning process, just watching things come to life, if you will. And when I was getting my undergraduate degree in the 90s, I worked for a large construction management firm working on big commercial projects. So that was exciting. And I really wanted to like study construction, but there really wasn't like construction management studies like you might have today.
Yeah.
So the closest thing they had was really the civil engineering. And that's why I decided to go into civil engineering in the 90s.
What's like next on the horizon for your company? Do you like where you guys going, or do you have plans to go even bigger type of assets?
Yeah, so I made a transition a few years ago into bigger assets. And so originally when I started out, I was just doing my syndications as a solo GP. There was no partners. It was just me and then limited partners.
Yeah.
And I've since changed that strategy to do much larger deals out of state with partners. And you can't partner on small deals, right? There's just not enough meat on the bone.
Yeah.
So on the smaller, like $2 to $3 million deals I was doing here in LA, those deals was just me and investors, right? But now I'm doing these larger deals out of state. And in order to really tap into that knowledge base that I'm talking about with partners, you just have to do larger deals so that it can afford everyone's expertise on the deal. So that's the biggest change that we've been making. Alongside with those bigger deals are also like out of state deals. So now I'm probably in 5 different states now. And I really like that, especially you just don't know what's going to happen with landlord rules.
Yeah.
And I'm an engineer. I'm a MBA finance guy. I do a lot with underwriting, but you can't underwrite to legislative changes, right?
Yeah,
I call it
exactly.
legislative liabilities, right? Like how do you just can't include something like that in underwriting? Maybe you can for the next 6 months or something like that, but on these
Maybe.
maybe, right? But on these typically like 5-year holds, like there's no way that you just have no idea. So because of that, I like to get in these more stable legislative environments, at least on the multifamily side that we're talking about right now, to where I feel like there's going to be less legislative liability. It's more certain to know, at least for the near term, what's going to happen in 5 years, and investing in those types of places. And I've had a lot of minefields in LA and SoCal,
Oh
right?
yeah,
Like
yeah. They like to
I've
throw
seen a
throw some
lot.
changes. Yeah,
Woo, let me tell you, they can throw some curveballs at landlords out here.
yeah,
So I definitely cut my teeth, I think, in like a pretty tough spot. But I do like investing out of California.
yeah. I mean, those are good points. I think that you're just trying to figure out all the things that will work for you as an investor, as a syndicator, and then trickle that down to the investors. But you made a great point that there's only so much you can do with the due diligence. Like, of course, your numbers have to work and the spreadsheet has to look, but you also have to know things outside of the spreadsheet. Like you're saying, you can't predict, legislative anomalies that are coming, but you can know population patterns and growth to judge things that can't be quantified in terms of like rent versus what you're paying. Do you think that sometimes like people are too focused on the due diligence aspect? Maybe as an LP, that's smarter. But I'm the same as you. I like to know a little bit more of the other things. I feel like you can be a better investor like that. How are you choosing your states right now? Because I think that's always interesting for just investors to learn how everybody chooses. Okay, like I'm finally going to go outside of my backyard. What things are you looking for? Is it partnerships or is it data that takes you to another state?
So, really good question. I think the broad brush strokes in terms of like states, I would look at states first, and then a partner within that state, right? So, I mean, there's partners that invest in every state, obviously in the U.S.
Yeah,
So, I could have a great partner who's like investing in New York right now, but that's not something I'm really interested in, even though the partner could be really, really good. So I would look at the state first, and for that, it's really, it doesn't change a whole lot. We're looking for population growth, income growth, and job growth, right? I mean,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
been those three for a long time, and it's like you don't need to get too fancy. As long as you got those three tailwinds, like you're really setting yourself up for success in real estate. And so you can look at population maps to see where the migration patterns are happening. I think we all kind of understand where people are moving to. And so those are generally the states that I'm looking at. And then within those states, I would drill down to work with operators that I know that are doing deals in those states. Cause I'd have no idea whether to invest on this side of the tracks or that side of the tracks
yeah.
in a city, right? So I really have to rely on a partner. Generally, it's a local partner who really knows the market, and they're looking for other partners to help build out the team, and then so they know the nuances of that locale. But like for instance, I know that I wanted to go to Florida, right? We've been doing a lot in Florida, and so I'm working with partners who are local to Florida, and knowing that I'd rather be in Florida than New York, for example.
Yeah, so I lived in Florida for 14 years. I lived in Fort Lauderdale for 7, Sarasota for 7. Loved the markets, did a bunch of investing while I was there. Have the new increase in insurance rates caused any issues with your properties? Because that's when it comes to Florida right now, everybody's talking insurance. Like insurance companies are just being like, it's insane.
Yeah,
Or you can just cross factor that in over the long term because it's definitely an issue now, right?
it's a big hit. It's a big
Yeah,
hit.
yeah, that's what I've heard.
You're getting insurance rates that were doubling, and you
Yeah,
might have
right.
underwrote to like a 5% or 10% annual increase, right? So that's a good example of something that wouldn't have been captured in underwriting from
Exactly.
just a few years ago. So yeah, that's definitely a hit for sure. But on the flip side, like the rent growth is much higher than we were projecting. Vacancy is still really really low. So overall, the deals are doing really well. But insurance is one of those big hits that we're taking right now, and some people are really scaling back on investing in Florida because of the insurance. I mean,
Yeah.
it is out of control. And even you talk about legislative changes, right? They're trying to curb some of those increases. I'm not sure if it'll end up going through or not, but the Florida government is trying to get some of that those increases under control. I don't know if they will or not, but it's a big hit right now.